The afternoon light in our apartment was my favorite. It was the kind of warm, golden light that architects dream about, the kind that makes a space feel less like a structure and more like a home. It spilled across the wide oak planks of the floor, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air like tiny, blissful spirits. On our large dining table, two worlds collided. My world, represented by rolled-up blueprints for the Miller renovation project and a scale model of a lake house, was one of clean lines, structural integrity, and calculated spaces. Her world, Izzy's world, was a joyful explosion of color and texture. Glossy wedding magazines fanned out, fabric swatches in shades of ivory and blush, and a calligraphy pen resting beside a half-addressed invitation. 4 or 5 years, these two worlds had been my entire universe. I stood in the doorway of the kitchen, nursing a cup of coffee, just watching her. Isabel, my Izzy. Her brow was furrowed in concentration as she compared two shades of cream that looked identical to me. She was the vibrant, unpredictable heart I had always wanted to design a life around. I was an orphan, raised by a state that was efficient but cold. I grew up understanding structures, rules, and the physics of how things hold together, but I never truly understood the chaotic, beautiful mess of a family. I craved it. I craved building a home, a real one, filled with laughter and arguments over what to watch on TV and the smell of something baking in the oven. For me, architecture wasn't just a job. It was a deep-seated need to create the stability I never had. And Izzy, she was the soul I wanted to fill that structure with. "You're staring," she said without looking up, a small smile playing on her lips. "I'm admiring the view," I replied, walking over and wrapping my arms around her from behind. I rested my chin on her shoulder, inhaling the familiar scent of her shampoo, something like peaches and vanilla. "How's the great stationary debate of the 21st century going?" She leaned back against me with a soft sigh. "It's a lot, Art. The caterer needs a final head count. The florist needs to know if we want peonies or garden roses, as if I know the difference. And now this." She tapped the invitation. "It's just so much." I kissed the side of her head. "It's just a party is. Our party. It's supposed to be fun." She turned in my arms to face me, and for a fleeting moment, I saw something in her eyes that wasn't joy or stress, but something closer to panic. It was there and gone in a second, replaced by her usual dazzling smile. "I know. It's just, sometimes I feel like I'm disappearing into all of these perfect plans of yours, you know?" she said, her voice light, almost teasing. "The perfect house, the perfect wedding, the perfect life. It's a lot to live up to." I felt a familiar, faint pang of self-reproach. It was a tune she played skillfully. Was I too structured, too focused on the blueprint of our future, that I was forgetting the person who was supposed to live in it with me? "Hey," I said softly, tilting her chin up. "It's not my plan. It's our plan. And it's not perfect without you." That seemed to be the right thing to say. The light returned to her eyes. She kissed me, a quick, reassuring peck. "I know. I'm just being silly. Pre-wedding jitters." But the seed of doubt had been planted. Over the next few days, I found myself watching her more closely. I noticed how her laughter didn't always reach her eyes, how she would stare out the window for long stretches, her phone clutched in her hand. I told myself it was normal. Every magazine, every blog, every married friend had warned us about the pressure cooker that was the final few months before wedding. I just had to be supportive. I had to give her space. The bomb dropped on a Tuesday. There was no fight, no warning. We had just finished a quiet dinner of takeout Thai food. I was clearing the containers, and she was standing by the window, silhouetted against the city lights. "Art," she began, her voice unnaturally steady. "We need to talk." My stomach tightened. Those 4 words are the prelude to every disaster. I turned, leaning against the counter, and waited. "I can't do this right now," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "The wedding, the house, all of it. It's too much." I walked toward her slowly. "Okay, we can postpone. We can simplify things. We just—" "No," she interrupted, shaking her head. "It's not that. It's me. I feel lost. I don't know who I am anymore outside of being Art's fiancée. I look in the mirror, and I don't recognize myself. The words were like something out of a movie, cliché and yet deeply cutting. She was finally crying now, silent tears tracking down her cheeks. "I love you, Art," she whispered, "and this is the part that would haunt me. I love you so much, and that's why I have to do this. I can't marry you. I can't promise you forever when I don't even know myself. I need a break, a real break. No contact. I need to figure myself out." I felt the floor give way beneath me. No contact. We hadn't spent more than 2 nights apart in 3 years. A break? Izzy, what does that even mean? Where will you go? "I'll stay with my sister," she said, her words rehearsed. "I just need time. Please, Art. If you love me, you'll give me this. You'll give me space." She had weaponized my love for her, and she knew it. The insinuation was clear. If I protested, if I argued, then I didn't truly love her. The part of me that craved stability, the architect who designed things to last, was screaming in protest. But the man who loved her, the man who had seen that flicker of panic in her eyes, felt he had no choice. My desire to be a good partner, to be the stable, supportive man she needed, overrode my own fear. "Okay," I heard myself say, the word feeling like ash in my mouth. "Okay, Izzy, if that's what you need." She packed a small overnight bag, a blur of motion and choked back sobs. The whole thing felt surreal, like I was watching a scene from someone else's life. She paused at the door. "This isn't goodbye," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "It's just until I find my way back." She hugged me, a quick, desperate embrace, and then she was gone. The door clicked shut, and the silence that rushed in was absolute. I stood alone in the middle of our living room, surrounded by the plans for a future that had just been indefinitely suspended. The golden light had faded, and the room was filled with long, cold shadows. And in my heart, a crack had formed in the very foundation of my world. The first 10 days were a special kind of hell. A silent, waiting hell. Every buzz of my phone sent a jolt of adrenaline through my veins, a ridiculous, Pavlovian hope that it was her, ready to come home. It never was. The apartment felt cavernous, a museum of a life that was suddenly on hold. Her coffee mug sat by the sink. Her half-read book was on the nightstand, face down to mark her page. I didn't move any of it. Moving it felt too final. I tried to work. I'd sit at the dining table, surrounded by her wedding magazines, and try to focus on the Miller renovation. But my mind would drift. I'd replay our last conversation, dissecting every word. I need to find myself. It's not you. This isn't goodbye. I clung to those phrases like a drowning man to a piece of driftwood. I was respecting her journey. I told myself. That's what a good partner does. You endure the storm. You wait. The self-reproach she had planted gnawed at me. Maybe I had pushed too hard, planned too much. Maybe I had, in my quest to build a perfect life, suffocated the woman I was building it for. I'd walk through the empty rooms, tracing the life we had built. I'd pick up the wedding planner, my thumb brushing over the elegant script of our names, bound together on the cover. I felt a profound loneliness, a deep ache for the future I had been so sure of. Was I giving her space, or was I just losing her in slow motion? The silence from her end was deafening, a void that my own anxieties rushed to fill. On the evening of the 10th day, I was aimlessly scrolling through Instagram, a mindless habit to numb the waiting. My thumb froze. A new post from Eleanor, Izzy's mother. The profile picture was her, beaming, glass of wine in hand. The caption was sickeningly cheerful. Such a blessing to have the whole family together for a little pre-wedding getaway. And so glad some special friends could make it too. My heart hammered against my ribs. A pre-wedding getaway? A chill snaked down my spine. I tapped on the photo. It was a group shot, taken on a pristine white sand beach. There was Eleanor, her husband Robert looking vaguely uncomfortable, Izzy's brother, and Izzy. She was grinning, her face glowing with sun and happiness. It was a happiness I hadn't seen in months. I swiped left. The next photo was Izzy, arm in arm with a man. He looked familiar. Tall, conventionally handsome, with an easy smile. He was laughing, and she was looking up at him with an expression of pure adoration. My blood went cold. Ethan, her college ex. The one she'd always dismissed as a nostalgic phase, a silly college thing. I swiped again. A candlelit dinner. The group was seated around a large table at what was clearly a high-end resort restaurant. And there, in the center of the frame, was Izzy. She was practically in Ethan's lap, her head thrown back in laughter, her hand resting casually on his thigh. And around her neck, catching the light, was the delicate gold necklace I had given her for our 5th anniversary. The symbol of our past, worn during the betrayal of our future. The screen of my phone seemed to burn into my retina. The room tilted. It wasn't a journey of self-discovery. It was a vacation. It wasn't about finding herself. It was about test driving a replacement. The no-contact break wasn't for her benefit. It was for mine, to keep me docile and out of the way while she explored her options. And her mother, Eleanor, wasn't a concerned parent. She was the getaway driver. The winking emoji in her caption was a digital middle finger aimed directly at me. The pain was immediate and blinding, a white-hot flash of pure agony. But what came next was something else entirely. The architect in me, the part of my brain that sees chaos and instinctively tries to impose order, took over. The hurt receded, replaced by a crystalline, chilling clarity. They hadn't just betrayed me. They had insulted my intelligence. They thought I was a fool, a placeholder, a safe bet to come back to if her romantic reunion didn't pan out. They had assumed I would just wait like a dog by the door. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my phone. I took a screenshot, and another, and another. I screenshotted the post, the comments from her clueless relatives. "You two look so cute together," and Eleanor's smug replies. I saved them all to a new folder on my laptop. I named it Project Absolution. My phone rang. For a wild second, I thought it was her. It was Marcus, my best friend since college. My lawyer. "Art, you went quiet on our text thread. Everything okay, man?" My voice, when I answered, was unnaturally calm. "Hey, Marcus, can I ask you a question? Not as a friend, but as a lawyer." Sure. What's up?" "Izzy is in Mexico." I said, my voice flat. "With Ethan." Her mother posted pictures of them all over Instagram. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "What? Are you kidding me?" "That." "Art, I'm so sorry." "Don't be," I said, and I was surprised by the steel in my own voice. "I need to know what to do. The right way. The smart way." "Okay," Marcus said, his tone shifting from friendly concern to professional focus. "Okay, listen to me. First, as your friend, this is beyond messed up, and I want to punch something. Now, as your lawyer, here's what you do. Not contact her. Do not engage. You're an architect. You're going to build an airtight case. Document everything. Every screenshot. Every receipt. Every communication, if any comes. You protect yourself. You become a fortress. A fortress." The word resonated deep within me. That's what I would do. I wouldn't be a victim cowering in the ruins. I would be the architect of my own defense. "Thanks, Marcus," I said. That's exactly what I needed to hear. After I hung up, I walked into our bedroom. Her side of the closet was still full. Her art supplies were piled in a corner. Her entire life, her entire presence, was still enmeshed with mine. I looked at it all, not with sadness, but with a new, determined purpose. She wanted space. I was going to give it to her. All of it. The next day, I began what I internally called Operation Clean Slate. I went to a hardware store and bought boxes. Dozens of them. I bought packing tape, bubble wrap, and markers. For the entire weekend, I worked with a methodical, dispassionate fury. I took every item of hers, every piece of clothing, every shoe, every book, every half-finished painting, and I packed it. It was a ritual of erasure. Each item was a memory I was neutralizing. A vintage dress she wore on our first date, wrapped in tissue paper, placed in box number 3. Her collection of pretentious art history textbooks, stacked neatly in box number 9. I created a detailed inventory on a spreadsheet, item by item. Before sealing each box, I took a photograph of its contents. It was clinical. It was precise. The hardest part was dismantling the shared future. I found the file with all our wedding contracts. I spent an afternoon on the phone, a pit in my stomach, canceling everything. The venue, the caterer, the band. I listened to their sympathetic voices accepted the loss of thousands of dollars in non-refundable deposits, and thanked them for their time. Each call was a nail in the coffin of a life I thought I was building. I found a stack of early wedding gifts that had arrived from out-of-state relatives. I packed them into a separate box, labeled Return to Sender. I found a framed photo from our engagement, the one that sat on my nightstand. Her face, radiant with what I had believed was pure joy. I stared at it for a long, silent minute, the memory of that day clear as glass. I didn't smash it. That would be an emotional, messy act. Instead, I wrapped it in 3 layers of bubble wrap, as if it were a priceless, fragile artifact, and placed it gently in box number 7, noting on my spreadsheet, framed photo, engagement, 8 by 10. I was containing the pain, not unleashing it. Finally, 15 boxes were stacked in my living room, a monolithic testament to a 5-year relationship. I called a premium courier service, one with tracking and insurance. The cost was $850. I didn't flinch. I addressed them to Eleanor and Robert's house. The day the tracking information updated to signed for and delivered, a profound sense of finality washed over me. I sat down at my computer. I changed my Facebook relationship status to single. I blocked Izzy. I blocked Eleanor. I blocked Ethan. I deleted her number from my phone. I went through my digital photos, deleting every picture of us together, saving only a few to the secure Project Absolution folder as evidence. The apartment was mine again. Stark, clean, echoing. It felt like a freshly prepped construction site, cleared of all debris, waiting for a new design. The fortress was complete. The drawbridge was up, and I sat inside, in the quiet, waiting for the inevitable assault. For 3 weeks, the silence was a balm. A clean, healing quiet. I filled it with the sounds of my own life. The scratching of my pencil on vellum, the clatter of weights at the gym I'd rejoined, the laughter of old friends I reconnected with. I worked late, pouring myself into the Miller renovation, finding solace in the logic of load-bearing walls and stress calculations. I was rebuilding, both literally and figuratively. The apartment began to feel less like a wound and more like my sanctuary. I was starting to breathe again. And then, late on a Wednesday night, my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. I knew, with a sinking certainty, who it was. I let it ring twice, took a deep, centering breath, and answered. "Hello," I said, my voice neutral. A pause, then a tentative, almost coy voice. "Art, it's me." It was Izzy. She sounded cheerful, like she was calling after a week-long spa trip, not a 3-week self-imposed exile that had torpedoed our life. "Oh," I said calmly. "Isabel, what can I do for you?" The use of her full name threw her. "Oh, I think I'm ready to talk now," she said, her confidence returning. "I've done a lot of thinking. I've really found myself again. I'm ready to figure things out with us. We can start planning the wedding again." The sheer, breathtaking entitlement of it all almost made me laugh. The audacity was a physical force. I let the silence hang in the air, a weapon in itself. "Isabel," I said, my voice as even and cold as polished steel. "There is no us to figure out." Another pause, longer this time. I could almost hear the gears grinding in her head, the confident narrative she'd constructed suddenly hitting a brick wall. What are you talking about, Liam?" I said I needed a break, not that we were breaking up. "You said you needed a no-contact break to figure yourself out." I countered smoothly. "I respected that. And in your absence, I figured some things out, too." Her tone shifted, becoming a little smug, a little teasing. "Figured out what?" "That you can't live without me." The little laugh that followed was the sound of someone who has never been told no in her life. "No," I said. "I figured out that I don't want to be with someone who lies to me so she can go on vacation with her ex-boyfriend." Dead silence. The kind of silence that is so complete, you can hear the blood roaring in your own ears. "How?" she finally whispered. "How did you know about that?" "Your mother, Isabel. Your mother tagged Ethan in the family vacation photos and posted them publicly for the entire world to see, including me." "Oh my God," she breathed, the sound a mixture of horror and fury. That was... Mom could be so clueless with social media. Clueless or complicit. I corrected her. I'm betting on complicit. But it doesn't matter. It painted a very clear picture. You needed space to see if things with Ethan still had legs, while keeping me on the back burner as your safe option. A classic monkey branching maneuver. No, it wasn't like that. Ethan was just there. It was a family thing. It just happened. Things don't just happen, Izzy. Decisions are made. You decided to lie. You decided to go. You decided to get cozy with him for your mom's Instagram feed. And I have decided that I am done. But my journey, she whined, her voice rising. I respected your journey so much, I said, the words dripping with ice, that I facilitated its next stage. What does that even mean? It means all of your belongings have been shipped to your parents' house. All 15 boxes. Tracking shows they arrived 3 weeks ago. Your father signed for them. I have the delivery confirmation right here. The silence that followed was the most profound yet. It was the sound of a world collapsing. You what? She whispered, her voice barely audible. I pack your things. Everything. Since you were on a journey of self-discovery, I figured you wouldn't want to be burdened by attachments to our old life. Or our old apartment. Her voice shot up, cracking with disbelief and rage. You did what? My art supplies? My vintage jackets? My grandmother's earrings? You can't just do that. Actually, I can. And I did. It's all there. I have a detailed, itemized inventory list for each box, complete with photographs, if you'd like to cross-reference. Your grandmother's earrings were in box number 7. Bubble-wrapped. Liam, this is insane. This is vindictive. Is it? Or is it simply accepting the reality you created? What are we going to work through, Izzy? The fact that you expected me to wait around like a chump while you auditioned your old flame? The relationship is over. My status is single. The locks on the apartment have been changed. Just so we're all clear. The crying started then. Whether it was real heartbreak or the frustrated tears of a manipulator who had lost control, I couldn't tell, and I didn't care. Then a new voice, sharp and imperious, cut in. Liam? This is Eleanor. What in God's name do you think you're doing to my daughter? Ah, the architect of the disaster herself. Eleanor, I said, my voice tired but firm. With all due respect, this is between Isabel and me. Or rather, it's now concluded. You can't just throw her things out. She's devastated. That trip was a misunderstanding. Ethan is just a family friend. A family friend she was straddling in the photos you posted. Eleanor. A sharp intake of breath. Well, I never. You're twisting things. She was vulnerable. She needed comfort. She told me she needed space and no contact. I shot back. If she found comfort in Ethan's arms, that was her prerogative. And it is my prerogative to end our relationship as a result. I could hear Izzy wailing in the background. Mommy, he sent all my stuff? What about my key? I need my key. You hear that? She's hysterical. You need to apologize and fix this, Liam. She was willing to give you another chance. The entitlement. It was a physical marvel. She was giving me another chance. There's nothing to fix, Eleanor, I said, my voice final. Isabel made her choices. I made mine. The only thing left for her to do is unpack. I suggest she start with her emotional baggage. Good evening. I hung up. I blocked the number. My heart was pounding, a mixture of adrenaline and draining exhaustion. But as I stood in the quiet of my apartment, a new feeling began to bloom. Peace. The gates had been stormed. The assault had been repelled. The fortress stood strong. The week after the phone call was quiet. A tense, waiting quiet. I half expected them to show up at my door. When they did, it was almost a relief. I was coming home late from the office, carrying a tube of blueprints under my arm, when I saw them. 2 figures camped out on the stairs to my apartment door like gargoyles guarding a tomb. Izzy and Eleanor. Evening, I said, my voice calm as I stopped at the bottom of the stairs. Liam, we need to talk. Face to face, Izzy said, her eyes red-rimmed but filled with a new, steely determination. Not over the phone, where you can be a coward. I'm not a coward for ending a call where I'm being insulted, I said, keeping my voice low. And I'm not sure what's left to discuss. You have to understand, it was a mistake, she pleaded, stepping towards me. Ethan means nothing. I was confused. I was lonely. I want you, Art. I miss us. A good mother just wants to help her daughter, Eleanor added, her tone dripping with false sincerity. Any good mother would. A good mother facilitates a secret rendezvous with an ex-boyfriend? Got it, I said flatly. I looked back at Izzy. Even if I believed you, which I don't, it doesn't change anything. The trust is gone, Izzy. It's shattered. This is where it turned ugly. You know, Liam, Eleanor said, her voice turning venomous. Izzy has been telling people how difficult you've been, controlling even, how you threw her out with nothing. My eyebrows shot up. Controlling? I gave her the space she demanded. I paid nearly $1,000 to ship her belongings to her safely. How is that controlling? You didn't talk to me. You just acted. Izzy cried. And what about my key? I want my key back. The locks were changed the day after your things were delivered, I said, enjoying the small, satisfying detail. For security reasons. Your key is a useless piece of metal. Izzy's face crumbled. Eleanor looked like she'd swallowed a wasp. Then, the final, desperate gambit. We have mutual friends, Liam, Eleanor said, a veiled threat in her voice. It would be a shame if they heard how callously you treated poor Izzy after a momentary lapse in judgment. I stopped. I looked from Eleanor's smug face to Izzy's tear-streaked one. I set my blueprints down carefully. Brenda, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. If you or Isabel try to slander or defame me in any way, I want you to know that I have a well-documented timeline of these events. I have screenshots of your family fun Instagram posts. I have the courier receipts and the signed delivery confirmation. I have the itemized, photographed inventory of every single thing I sent back. And I started recording all my calls after your first performance. Try me. The color drained from their faces. They had come for a fight, assuming I was armed with nothing but hurt feelings. They had run headfirst into a prepared, documented legal case. Now, I said, picking up my blueprints, I am going into my apartment. I suggest you leave. Now. I walked past them, unlocked my new lock, stepped inside, and shut the door firmly behind me. I leaned against it, my heart pounding, and listened until I heard their receding footsteps. The final move came a week later, not as a shout, but as a formal email. A scam letter from a lawyer. Izzy was seeking $5,000 in compensation for emotional distress and, most audaciously, a 50% share of the down payment on our canceled house, claiming it was a shared asset. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. I forwarded it to Marcus. His response was a single line. Oh, this is going to be fun. Our response was a masterpiece of polite, legal destruction. It respectfully declined their request and laid out the facts, supported by exhibits. Izzy's voluntary departure, Exhibit A. A transcription of our last conversation. The premeditated nature of the Mexico trip, Exhibit B. Eleanor's time-stamped Instagram posts. Proof of delivery of all her property, Exhibit C. Courier dockets and signatures, and my sole bank statement for the house down payment, Exhibit D. Marcus concluded by noting that any further attempts at extortion would be met with a countersuit for harassment and defamation. The ensuing silence was absolute and final. About a month later, I heard the epilogue through a mutual friend. Our legal response had caused a meltdown. Eleanor was furious that her threat had backfired so spectacularly, and Ethan, upon realizing that Izzy came with a storm of drama and potential legal bills, had decided their rekindled flame wasn't worth the heat. He told her he wasn't ready for all this baggage and wished her well. The irony was poetic. The smear campaign had also imploded. When Eleanor tried to rally friends, people started asking awkward questions. But wait, didn't she go on vacation with Ethan while she was still with Art? Didn't you post those photos, Eleanor? The narrative they tried to spin unraveled under the simple weight of their own actions. Izzy was single again, living at home, surrounded by 15 boxes of a life she had torched herself. She, of course, was telling everyone I had ruined her life. I sometimes sit in my apartment, the late afternoon light spilling across the floor, and I don't feel anger or even satisfaction. I feel peace. A quiet, expansive peace. I didn't seek revenge. I simply presented them with the natural consequences of their own choices. I let their own chaos be their undoing. Last night, I took out all the old blueprints for the house Izzy and I were supposed to build. I looked at them for a moment, a life that could have been, then rolled them up and put them away in a tube. I cleared my drafting table, wiping it clean. I took out a fresh, crisp sheet of high-quality vellum and a sharpened pencil. The apartment was quiet. My space. My future. My life. My phone buzzed with a message from someone new, a woman I was meeting for coffee next week. No expectations. Just a new direction. I smiled, a real, unburdened smile. I looked at the blank sheet, a world of possibilities. My hand was steady as I drew the first line. It was the sound of a new beginning.